Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats. And today we're featuring, it's not a school, it's not a nonprofit, it's really more about something that I've noticed from visiting lots of schools is that the better job a school does on operations and parent communication, the better experience your student will have and the family will have. But it's something that folks often overlook. We tend to focus on things like curriculum first. And so, as our guest expert on operations and communications, we have Nick Stamboulis, and he's the head of sales at Cariina, which is a software provider. But the guest post that he wrote, I want everybody to go find it. It's at schartermoms.com, and it's the top post right now. But there's also a link in the description of the video, so you can find it that way. But I asked him, I said, okay, what have you learned from talking to lots of schools? What advice do you have for parents? So he did a great job of taking this parent perspective about what, based on his knowledge and his team's knowledge about operations and communications. So Nick, well, let's dive in. Let's talk about operations and parent communication.
Awesome. Sounds like a plan.
Okay, great. Okay, well, first of all, I want you to give you a chance to explain, like, what is Cariina? Like, what is y'all's mission and vision?
Cool. So our mission, Cariina's mission, is to help schools become operationally excellent. And we believe that strong student outcomes are facilitated by exceptional operations. Our vision is to unify all non-instructional aspects of school operations to help foster high-quality growth, maximize revenue, and create institutional operational memories all in one place for parents, faculty, and staff to be able to access.
Yeah, it's so important. Like every school, they're serving children, but they also kind of have to operate like a business. And the less money they spend on operations, the more money they can spend on paying teacher salaries and having people who are actually in the classroom and, like, having the resources for teachers to use. So, like, the less money that goes into operations gets wasted, the more that it benefits the children. And that's what it should always be about, right?
Exactly. Everything ties back to education, more classroom time, better resource allocation, and stronger student outcomes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, like, touching on what's in the post, like, I think you make a really good case for when a school is doing a good job with parent communications and operations, that benefits students. So can you go deeper into that?
Yeah, 100%. And so I think when it comes to choosing a school for your child, like, good parent communications and operations are really essential to that. And picking the right school for your child can be time consuming, it can be stressful and very overwhelming. And a wrong choice can have impacts on that child's development. And the right choice can really assure that they're set up in an environment that they're able to succeed at a very high level. And just for some more context, parents, I think, need to feel really confident that their children are receiving a quality education and that their concerns are addressed in a timely manner. So in the article, I have it broken down. I think it's 10 points or 10 signs that a school has really good communication and operations. And then I can run down the list if that works for you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, and again, anybody who feels like we're going too fast, wherever, go look at the blog post because Nick lays it out really well there. Send it to your kid's school and say, "Are you doing all of these?" Right?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, this is a great list, right? So I think the first one you mentioned is the Parent Teacher Association, which in San Antonio these come by all different names. There's PTOs, PSOs, PVAs, but it's the same idea, right? It's the parent organization.
Exactly. And so what we've seen, Inga, is like a school with an active and engaged parent group is a really good sign that parents are involved in the school's decision-making process. And I just want to add a couple notes here. Like, if there is a PTA, our best practices are that they should meet regularly, and there should be some sort of school liaison who is accessible in some manner to be able to answer questions and provide information about the school's policies. And then as we're diving into a lot of these things, I think having these things in place is important, but I think more importantly, it's that the school is actually seeing them through. It's not just that they have a PTA or a PTO, parent engagement group, but like, are they meeting regularly? Is there an active line of communication going on? Because it's one thing for these schools to say that they're doing things. It's another thing to see them follow through on it, and actually maximize the learning and engagement that can take place.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really true. Yeah, it's the follow through and the consistency, and it's the parent organization needs to have access to people and school leadership so that they can work closely together. Because you don't want the parent organization to go rogue, but been there, done that. But yeah, and you want them to work in tandem and have good communication. This is a former parent organization leader speaking here, so yeah. Um, okay, so and then one of the factors you mentioned is timely responses, right? So if a parent has a question, if they reach out to the school, they need to hear back quickly.
Yeah, yeah. When parents call the school, I think that they should expect a timely response. I mean, this means that somebody should pick up the phone or return that call within a reasonable time frame. And schools that value this parent communication will have staff that prioritize answering those inquiries and concerns.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's really important, and I guess that's part of what the Cariina platform does, right? Is like there's and parents don't always. I guess like I don't know. I think using the phone is considered old fashioned, right? So sometimes parents want to be able to use like a chat or a text or things like that, right? So um, okay, and then another factor you talked about is regular communication with teachers. So what kinds of things should parents look for?
Yeah, I think parents should be able to communicate regularly with their child's teachers, and the school should have some sort of processes in place to provide evaluations and feedbacks about their child's progress. And we really think that teachers should work with the parents to come up with these mutual action plans to address any concerns. And in doing so, this really ensures that parents are informed about their child's education and that they can work with the schools to address any issues that arise.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is really key. And speaking as a parent, like I think some of the most stressful times we've had were when we couldn't get a good answer, or we couldn't get in touch with the teacher. And the pandemic made it harder because
Yeah.
used to be I knew kind of where to lurk, but like during the pandemic I couldn't lurk, and so that took away one of my workarounds. Or if you don't know who's the problem solver, right? If you're trying to solve a problem and you go to one person and they're like, well, that's not, I don't know how to fix it. And then you're kind of stuck, right? So it's really important to know that you have an ally who's going to look out for you and get your problem to the person who does have the power to solve it.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So continue with the communication theme. One of the things to look for is that there's a parent newsletter that goes out weekly, right?
Yeah, and we think that a school that can provide parent communication should have these weekly newsletters that highlights, the events and the activities that are going on within that school. We think that it should provide info about important deadlines or any other news that parents need to know. And it's a really easy way, I think, to help keep parents informed and engaged with what's going on in their child's education.
Yeah, yeah. I think especially having like some kind of archive. I know like I tend to like archive my emails, but some folks delete emails right away and then they have to go back to an old newsletter. So that's my little parent tip is like, yeah, especially if there's like an archive that you can look up to and like find the old newsletters in case you missed something. So and then another tool is if the school has a parent portal, right? So and I think most families with like school age kids kind of know what a parent portal is, but maybe the families with younger kids are like, "What's a parent portal? What should you expect to find in a parent portal?"
Yeah, you're totally right, Inga. I think a lot of schools these days have some sort of parent portal, but basically it helps give an avenue for parents to be able to communicate with teachers, usually access their child's grades and progress reports. What we do want to note about parent portals, and this is not always the case within the edtech space, but it should be user friendly and easily accessible for everybody. A lot of the schools that we're working with are usually using some sort of parent portal or SIS system like a Power School or a Dean's List or some others. Cariina is able to integrate with a lot of those as well. So makes it way easier to be able to tie into those existing systems for schools that we're working with.
Yeah, yeah. No, my tip is that I have a reminder on my calendar on Sunday afternoon. So when you're already kind of feeling like the Sunday scaries, like that your mind is already thinking about Monday. It's like that way it's not going to like harsh your mellow during the weekend. So it's like, so I have a certain time on Sunday that I check the grade portal and then just make sure my kids are okay with their grades. If they need help, I'll nudge them like, okay, remember tutoring with this class is on this day. Okay, maybe cut back on the amount of outside the house fun activities, maybe a little more time studying. Yeah, but I think having routines. That I'm jumping ahead a little bit because I know you have a section about that. But like for me, having a routine because it's not fun to look up grades, but it's really helpful. It means that, and then if there's a concern, knowing that you can reach out to the teachers and they will respond timely and they will give feedback. That's really important.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing that you said to look for is social media presence. So what are signs that a school is doing a good job on that?
Yeah. So I think if a school is active on most social media platforms, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, is usually a pretty good sign that they're valuing parent engagement. And social media can be a really great and easy way to help communicate with parents and just keep them informed of the activities and events. Again, similar to a lot of the other things, what we're really looking for in schools that value good communication and operations is the consistency of it. Do they have a Facebook page, but they're only posting once a month or once a quarter or something like that. And so when you're looking at schools to send your son or daughter to, definitely do some due diligence. Take a look at their Facebook page. When was the last time they posted? Are they getting good engagement? So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's a plug for I say turnermoms.com. So if anybody goes to our guide page and then you click on each enrollment guide that we have for the schools, there's a section in the enrollment guide that talks about like how to reach the school, how to set up a tour, things like that. And whenever possible, we have links to as many social media accounts as we can find. And sometimes it's YouTube, sometimes they have a LinkedIn, right? That's a great way. Like if you're looking for a teaching job, you can contact a school on LinkedIn. So whatever platforms they have, we try to include in the enrollment guides. So that's our way of helping. But yeah, I agree. It's a great research tool. It gives you a quick sense of the school culture and how invested are they in the parent communication.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And then another factor you said to look for is what type of parent communication app the school is using.
Yeah. And most of the time nowadays, I feel like schools are using parent communication apps or they have something in place. And it's usually to help facilitate communication between parents, teachers. They're really usually pretty convenient ways. So a lot of them, they're able to send text messages or robocalls or push notifications through the app. And it's just, again, a good way to stay informed about your child's education. And again, just like the other things that we've talked about, we're really looking for schools that are doing this consistently. And then also making sure, like at the beginning of the school year, for example, that, there's a little session to learn about whatever parent communication app it is, and that they're also invested in making sure that it gets rolled out to parents too. And so we're seeing a lot of the schools that we work with now have really high parent engagement rates within the Cariina app because there's so many things that you can do with it. Whether you're tracking the bus or communicating with parents or receiving notifications. And there's many other examples on the market. There's School Messenger, Parent Square, and a bunch of others. Again, the goal here is to look for that consistency and do they offer something?
Yeah. So my kids' school uses Parent Square, so that's the one I'm familiar with. And what I appreciate about it is that I can go into the app, or I can access it on my laptop, but I have it set up so that it texts me when there's a new post that's relevant. And I know they set up different groups, right? So it's like if my kids, in the Cyber Patriot Club and they get a notification, then that comes to me, right? And as like backup, in case I missed a text message, it goes into my email. So, but those are sort of opt-in. Like you don't have to get the email, but I like having it. I like having it there. I can search for it. I feel like I live in a very information-rich world, and kind of the more times it comes at me, the more likely it is to stick. And
Mhm.
I just really appreciate not having, and like if all you did was check the app, you would be a well-informed parent. You wouldn't feel left out of anything. You wouldn't feel um, like I think one of the most painful things as a parent is if you feel like there's an in crowd and you're not part of it, and all the fun
Yeah.
stuff is happening with the in crowd, and oh, that's just that's so sad, and that it's the kind of thing that worsens economic disparities, right? Because it's often the wealthier parents that are in the in crowd. So I feel like good communication is an equalizer. It makes things accessible to all the families, and that's what we want. Is we want no kids to get left out because parent engagement affects the quality of learning that kids get, right? Whether it's parent teacher conferences or things like that. So anyway, it's like there's more to it than just um, oh, do you get a text message or an email? Like to me, this has so much to do with the quality of experience that students have and with with equity and making sure that every student is getting included and getting served.
Yeah, that's a really good point
Okay.
that you brought.
Okay. Well, me and my rants, but okay. One of the factors that you talk about also is social emotional learning. So, can you explain how that relates to communication and operations?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure a lot of folks here listening are familiar with social and emotional learning, SEL. For those that don't, just some context, it's the process of developing social and emotional skills to support positive relationships, decision making, and overall well being. And from our perspective, a school that values social emotional learning will prioritize this development for their students and can include certain programs or initiatives that support student mental health and well-beings. And there's usually some systems or processes or softwares in place to be able to track that, and then use that for progress reporting, tracking trends over time, and just having that data readily accessible for those folks.
Yeah, yeah. But there's lots of different names for it. I think social emotional learning is probably the most common, but at some schools call it like character education, or like at classical education schools, they might call it like virtues or values or things like
Mhm.
that. So it emerges under different names, but it would really it's just every school that's doing a good job realizes it's more than just academics. You have to make sure that the students have like those like the soft skills to be able to get things done, and also to be in tune with their own feelings, right? So that if they get frustrated, they're not acting out. They can, take a deep breath or whatever calming techniques they learn. And those are things that serve them well in the classroom, but also serve them well in life. And, some kids can learn those skills at home or through, scouting or whatever, clubs or activities or their summer jobs or something. And some students don't have as many opportunities outside the classroom. And so it makes for an uneven playing field in life, what skills that parents have passed on to their kids, but some kids may not have a household where they're able to pick up those skills. So I think schools can do a lot, to shape students in ways that will help them succeed in life. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on SEL. So thank you. Um, but okay, so on the factors you talk about, one of them is on-site tours. So, and again, a plug for our enrollment guides. We try to reinforce like how families can access those. But what's your take on the importance of touring a campus?
Yeah, I definitely think that parents should take at least the opportunity to visit the school and see how their child reacts to the environment. Going on site can help parents get a sense of the school's culture, the facilities, and resources available. And I think it's an awesome opportunity to get to meet with staff, ask some tougher questions in person, and get a really good sense of the school's values and priorities, and making sure that they're aligned with what your student needs and deserves, which gets into our next point of mission alignment.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, we've had some parent perspective posts and interviews lately, and a common theme is a parent saying like, I was looking at multiple schools, and then but when I visited this school, that's when I knew in my heart I felt called, like
Mhm.
this is it. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, and one of the things that's so hard to define, but it's that mission alignment. So, what would be your advice about what's the importance of mission alignment?
Yeah, we really believe that the school's mission should align with the outcomes that parents are looking to achieve with their child. And so this may be STEM education, trades, or college prep. And I think parents really need to sit down and consider what is best for their child and ensure that the school's mission is aligned with their values and goals.
Yeah. No, is it like, I love what I do, getting to talk about all these different schools, but I try to reinforce to parents, like, there's a much wider variety of schools out there than you could even imagine,
Yes.
and so then it's just important to, like, use our tools, do the research, and because whatever school you're looking for, it's probably out there, you just may not have heard of it yet. Yeah. Well, so that's that group of factors that you came up with. I thought that was a great list because, I've encountered these things in different ways, but you did a great job like summarizing it. And I think a parent who's new to this topic could really soak that in and then use that when they're doing their school search to help identify schools that have better operations. And that's likely to lead to a better experience for their students, and the family will probably be more satisfied at that school. But in the post, you also have a really great list of just ways that parents can be more involved in their children's education. This is, I think, a very universal list, whether it's a neighborhood public school or a charter school or a private school. So, what are some of those tips about parent involvement?
Yeah. So I think that there's a couple of different ways that parents can get more involved with their child's education. Um, One is prioritizing learning in the home by establishing, routines and schedules that allow children to complete their homework, read independently, and making sure that they're getting enough sleep, and also have opportunities to seek help from you, and trying to discuss what's happening in school. Another way that parents can get involved in their children's education is to just read to their children, even if it's only for 10 or 20 minutes a day. Encouraging your children to read more, or on their own or together as a family. I also think another way that parents can get involved is just by asking the child's teacher on how they prefer to communicate. Most teachers that I deal with and admins all day are usually comfortable with text messages now, or phone calls. Um, and we think that all teachers want parents to stay updated, especially if any issues are arising. Another way for parents to get involved is to attend school events. So that includes parent teacher conferences, back to school nights, ice cream socials. Um, and this, I think, is even a good choice, even if your child is not involved in some of the extracurricular activities, but just, showing face, getting to know the community members of the school, and being present when you're there. Another one is using the commute to connect with your children. So you could, for example, ask them to read while you drive and engage in conversations about school, see what's going well, see what they need help in. And then the last tip that I have is to prioritize communication with your child's teachers, especially, if there's demanding work schedules or cultural or language barriers, and just try and find out what resources are available to help get yourself involved and others as well.
Yeah. No, those are really good points. And like as I was editing your post and getting it ready to publish, it made me think about what we do in our own family. Like so, in the car we do a lot of audiobooks, but my kids know that before I turn on the audiobook, I'm going to check in with them and just ask them particular questions about their day, ask them about particular classes, and then so we're currently listening to the Two Towers in Lord of the Rings, which they're very, very eager to listen to. So they want it, but they know that we're going to kind of cover the bases first. That they need to check in, talk about their day. Especially so the car is great because you have a captive audience. Yeah, but family dinner is good too. It's hard with scheduling, but yeah, but just having routine. If you have routines, then you don't have to make a point to make it happen. And the kids are going to quiz you about, well, why are we doing this today? It's like, oh, this is what we do. This is the normal thing. Okay, this is where we talk about how we're doing. But I need to do better about. I tend to take for granted that things are okay at school, but I really want to get more input from the teachers before the end of the school year, because they know my kids in a different context than I know my kids at home, but I don't know them. Sometimes I get feedback about like from the advisor of the club that my son is in, and he gave feedback about my son's work ethic, and I was really happy to hear that because I don't know, I see his messy room and I'm not so sure about the work ethic, but at least he's doing a good job at school and in his clubs. So.
Nice. And I can even remember during my childhood going to school every single day, and in the car, my dad and I would listen to audiobooks. One that came to mind was actually Who Moved My Cheese, which is like a book. Yeah.
Like a business book. Yeah.
It's a good business book. And that I can still remember those conversations and listening to the book and just how involved my dad was. He would quiz me about the book. He'd be like, "Oh, what did you think of this? Do you understand the lesson? It's not just about the cheese and the maize." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So it was an awesome time to connect, and definitely some of my best childhood memories doing that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, actually, okay. So my next question is actually not related to guest post, but I was just wondering, what's it like to work at Cariina? Because it's it's kind of a small company, and I got to meet your CEO when y'all were in town in San Antonio. So, but, like, what's it like working at a sort of small tech company that's focused on education?
Yeah, it's very fast moving. Sometimes we like to move fast and break things, but I love the people. I love the product, and I really love the success stories that come along with doing an A-plus job. And I also love the travel. I am in Boston here, and my previous job I had worked remote for about a year and a half. And now here at Cariina, I am on the road at least probably 1 or 2 weeks per month. So I get to see the country, meet some awesome folks, and eat some really good food and build some awesome relationships while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great. Well, I'm grateful for what you and your team are doing because I think I got to do the demo, right, with all the sort of
Yeah.
Harry Potter names in it, which is great. And I was really impressed with the product because I've used different products and um, and I think it's important to shed light on this topic that I think like schools have to juggle so many things, and they want to keep their students safe, they want to make sure they're making academic progress, and really the more that they can simplify operations and this parent communication aspect, it frees up resources to help more with student outcomes, and having good parent communication helps with retention. And
Yeah.
some families are still kind of on the sidelines. They've maybe started homeschooling during the pandemic and they haven't brought their kids back on campus yet. But I think they're thinking about it. But I know that those parents are really looking for good communication and feeling connected with their kids' teachers.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know that most of our audience is parents, and they're not necessarily the decision makers about whether their school uses a certain operations platform. But I know some of our audience actually is like teachers and administrators. For anybody, and if you're a parent who's like on an advisory committee and you want to like plant the seed in your principal or superintendent's brain, go ahead. But if for the administrators who are listening, how could they get in touch with Cariina?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways. We have our social media. So our website, it's just Cariina with 2 I's.com. You can email me directly. I think I'm very lucky where I have a super easy email address. It's just nick@cariina.com. I don't always do this, but you can have a direct line to me as well. My number is 860-817-8773. You can call me or text me at that number. And if you are an administrator that wants to see an in-depth personalized demo, if you go to Cariina.com, there's I think it's a big blue button that says book a demo. And we can go from there.
Okay, well, that sounds great. Okay, well, speaking as a parent of teenagers now, and so like, and we've been at multiple schools, like, good peer communication makes such a difference in the quality of experience as a family. And I think for schools who can simplify their operations, if you have like fewer people in the front office, fewer people in administration, more people teaching, more people interacting with kids, that's
Mhm.
going to be a really positive outcome for the kids. It's also going to impress your board and your funders too. So just do things the right way. But they need good allies like Cariina, good products like that.
100%. Inga,
Okay,
this
well,
was a
great. Well,
blast.
yeah, no, this is a little different topic because we're not talking about a particular school or things like that. But I think you really helped shed light on an important topic, and I hope this makes parents more aware of this. Now they have better tools for when they're doing their school search.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
See ya.
Okay, bye.